We're entering into the fourth week of the federal election campaign. With a review on issues that came up in the campaign so far is Adjunct Professor of Political Sciences at the University of Manitoba, Christopher Adams. Good morning, Christopher.
Hi, Rochelle. Nice to be with you again.
Thanks for joining us. Now, we're weeks into the campaigning now. How are things going so far?
Well, you know, the projections from many of the people watching polls, the projections have really been showing the Liberals very much on their way to a majority victory. But I would say, Rochelle, this coming week is critical. We have seen a couple of polls that have shown the Conservatives might be inching back up a little bit. Nanos just late last week, and I believe Ecos might have had something early this week. But we've got the debates this week, and the debates during an election can be pivotal, both for showing the ability of each leader to be the next prime minister, but also to see if there might be some mistakes and things like that. So it's a critical week, and we've only got just a couple of weeks left till voting day.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what were some of the big stories seen in the last week or so on the campaign trail?
Well, you know, one of the Mark Carney took a break to talk with the premiers and others about the ongoing trade war with Donald Trump in the United States. So that was happening, and it's fairly unusual during an election campaign that a prime minister stops campaigning to actually act like the prime minister. But it's more of a convention that the prime minister doesn't do government related matters. But this is an unusual time. The other thing that's happened is one of the CTV senior reporters in Scrum a couple of days ago got into a bit of a shouting match with Poilievre, because Poilievre has been controlling the questions coming from the journalists and not allowing any follow-up questions. And it was a very somewhat embarrassing exchange with the leader and the CTV reporter, and to the point where Poilievre accused her of being a terrorist. So not a great moment for the Conservatives on that. But I would say at the same time, we're seeing the NDP really struggling. The NDP, Jagmeet Singh, just under 10% in most of the polls that came out over the past week. And what that is, Rochelle, is that the Liberals are pulling away swing voters from the NDP. And these are soft NDP supporters who are voting either for Carney or against Poilievre. And it's a strategic vote. But we might see if the NDP over the next couple of weeks will pull back some of their soft supporters.
What are some of the promises we've heard so far from party leaders in this election?
Well, we've seen promises such as 3 strikes and you're out type of anti-crime positions. Poilievre has put forward a thing regarding lobbying and whether people can lobby on their own behalf even if they aren't in government, but are as advisors. But we've seen actually statements about housing that the platforms are not really the center part of the conversation these days. It's more who can handle Trump and whether voters want to change. But the platforms will become more clear as we get closer to the election.
And what other controversies have we seen?
Well, I think what the question is, what is the ballot question? I'm not saying your question, Rochelle, but I'm saying the question for voters is, what is the ballot question? And a few months ago, the ballot question was, is it time for a change? And now the question is who can bring stability to Canada? And also, as part of that stability question, who can make life more affordable? And Poilievre has been campaigning on that for the past couple of years, and the Liberals are a little bit late to the game, but it looks like in some of the polling data that Carney might be pulling in some of those people who said it's time for a change, but they want a change that might be linked up with stability.
And of course, advance polls start this week on Good Friday, and voting will officially begin.
Yes, and Winnipeg is an area of the country which will actually be a good barometer as to where the whole country is going.
Christopher, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.